The ultra-left CNN legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin gets utterly humiliated after he's caught exposing himself on a Zoom call. In this video, we're going to take a look at the embarrassing fall of one of CNN's most liberal commentators, how his suspension is actually revealing a vile hypocrisy on the part of CNN, and how that hypocrisy is only ultimately undoing and defeating the left itself. You're not going to want to miss this. Welcome everyone, Dr. Steve here with you, ready to bring you our latest episode celebrating the inevitable collapse of left-wing globalism and the unstoppable rise of a new conservative age. So if you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. We'd love to have you as a regular part of this channel that focuses each and every day on optimism and encouragement in the midst of all the defeatist fake news spewed out by our mainstream media. But first, I'm sure you know, but athletes, celebrities, and high performers, they're all going keto. It's a diet that's being praised around the world because it's wildly effective at boosting metabolism, elevating energy, enhancing mental focus. But for many, it's an extremely difficult diet to follow, cutting out all those carbs and all. And so if you want the benefits of elevated ketone levels, but without having to actually do the difficult parts of the keto diet, you'll want Keto Elevate. I use it myself. I put it in my coffee every morning. Tastes great, curbs my appetite for hours. Now, if you click on the link below, you can get your very first shipment of Keto Elevate on its way to you right now and get a whopping 51% off the regular price. So don't wait. Click on that link below and reap the rewards that Keto Elevate can bring to your life today. All right, gang, let's dive right in here. CNN legal analyst and renowned, that's how CNN billed him, the renowned reporter for The New Yorker, the ultra left-wing Jeffrey Toobin, has been suspended after he exposed himself during a Zoom call with a number of his New Yorker colleagues, many of whom were women. Apparently, Toobin believed that the camera feed was turned off on his computer, which is a bit odd since you can see on the screen precisely what everyone else sees, so I'm not quite sure what's up with that. However, as it turns out, it was much worse than that. Toobin was in fact not merely exposing himself, he was also, shall we say, gratifying himself. According to Vice News, which broke the story, two people were on the video call. They said that the purpose of the call was an election simulation featuring the New Yorker's biggest stars. They were rehearsing how they would discuss the issues surrounding the election. And it was during this simulation that those present on the Zoom call suddenly realized what they were seeing coming from Toobin's camera. And again, he appeared completely unaware of it. And so as a result, he's been indefinitely suspended from The New Yorker. And if you can believe it, he's reportedly merely taking time off from CNN. So what sense should we make of all this? Well, you know, I have to say I was rather hesitant about doing this video. It just seems so ridiculous. This guy Toobin is so obviously demented. I mean, at one level, there's really nothing to say here other than just what happened. But on a whole other level, this story is yet another example of the double standards surrounding the whole Me Too movement and the selective and asymmetrical application of Me Too outrage. You may have heard about this, but over at the ultra-liberal MSNBC, Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes were basically just laughing over the whole thing. They remarked that it was just, kind of weird having to talk about this regarding, fellow colleague, how it all pales in comparison to what's the real most important stories in our world. And, it pays to have colleagues who share a sense of both the absurdity of life and the responsibility of what actually should be on television. I mean, it was just weird. It was a weird exchange between these two MSNBC hosts, and such a stark contrast from the kind of virtue signaling we've been subject to over the last couple of years. I'm sure you all recall the ridiculous hysterics that characterized the Brett Kavanaugh Supreme Court confirmation hearings just a couple of years back, surrounding the spurious accusations from Dr. Christine Blasey Ford that Kavanaugh had raped her in high school. What you may not remember is the role that both CNN and The New Yorker, who employed this guy Toobin, who you may not have remembered the role both of these media outlets played in trying to destroy Brett Kavanaugh, but I'll be happy to remind you of this. When all of this was going on, the whole frenzied Salem witch trial surrounding Kavanaugh and his supposed history of rape and sexual assault, the New Yorker, rather than trying to bring clarity to this insanity, the New Yorker instead published the baseless, completely baseless allegations made by Deborah Ramirez, where she claimed to have witnessed Kavanaugh drunk and flailing his genitals at her at a party. Now, neither she nor the New Yorker included any other attendee at the party that could corroborate her story. The New York Times, to its credit, not only rejected the story as baseless, but it went on to report that Ramirez had herself walk back on the allegations, saying that she can't be sure that it was Kavanaugh. And then an anonymous source came out that we now know was a Princeton Theological Seminary professor. Let that horrify you. A fellow training tomorrow's pastors, but he came out and defended Ramirez's allegations by saying that he heard about that very event by someone else at the party, but then when the New Yorker contacted that someone else, he or she had no recollection what on earth our esteemed theology professor was talking about. Now, unfortunately, last I heard, these two reporters at the New Yorker still have their jobs after publishing such an irresponsible story. If these were pilots acting in such a reckless manner, I doubt that they would still be flying. But that's what the New Yorker did in order to Me Too, or to try to Me Too Brett Kavanaugh. But not to be outdone, Jeffrey Toobin was on the forefront of pushing the allegations against Kavanaugh, most especially on CNN. He accused Kavanaugh of excessive drinking, as well as a history of repeated coercive relationships with young women and exposing himself. The people that were accusing him, Kavanaugh, were supposedly people of these, impeccable reputations, which made the idea that this was being made up preposterous. And Toobin went on to say on CNN that if you sexually assault someone in high school, your life should be ruined. This is the man who just got caught exposing himself and sexually gratifying himself in a Zoom call with women. This paragon of virtue signaling that was so quick to denounce an upstanding judge and fully qualified Supreme Court justice. This guy who actively tried to destroy Brett Kavanaugh's life based on ridiculously spurious accusations is the same guy who just got caught in a blatantly lewd act on a conference call with women. And yet, he's merely suspended from the New Yorker and taking time off from CNN. We're not going to apply his own standards to him. That'd be, even though he was so quick and giddy to impose it on others. Make no mistake, Toobin is about as radical a leftist as you can get. When Supreme Court Justice Anthony Kennedy retired, Toobin tweeted out that abortion will be illegal in 20 states in a mere 18 months. I mean, it's been widely pointed out that Toobin is one of the long line of so-called reporters suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, who consistently predict the most dire of outcomes whenever anything involving Trump comes up. And this, to me, is what makes Toobin's suspension and time off possible. Rather than face the guillotine of virtue signalers, he's given such a light sentence for his obvious transgressions precisely because he's a far-left liberal. But first, I want to personally invite you to our special On the Brink Benefit Conference. It's an online conference featuring me and some guest speakers on Saturday, October 31st. The virtual conference is going to help you think better and therefore feel better about November 3rd and beyond. And so what we're going to do is we're going to discover what's really behind the rise of a new conservative age. We're going to look at how nationalism and globalism will continue to face off well beyond November, and why nationalist populism is absolutely unstoppable in its battle with liberal left-wing globalism. Now, prices are going to be going up, so don't wait. Make sure to register today for the On the Brink Benefit Conference. I look forward to meeting you virtually in less than just 2 weeks. All right, gang, so why is Toobin getting such a light sentence here? Well, I think it's obvious, to put it frankly. His leftist bona fides are what save him in these circumstances. Here's what's really going on. I mean, frankly, it's actually rather simple. Cultural Marxism, right, the pseudo-philosophy, the politically correct woke left, is a worldview centered on a cult of the aggrieved. The left was highly successful in creating a world where we had terms to describe all kinds of supposed crimes against sexual and racial and physical minorities, such as misogyny and racism and sexism and ableism and all this nonsense. But nothing, absolutely nothing, no singular term whatsoever for crimes committed against, say, white male Christian conservatives, right? By definition of the oppressor framework of cultural Marxism, there's no crime that can be committed specifically against the oppressive majority of the white male Christian conservative. That's the world of Jeffrey Toobin and his ilk at CNN and at the New Yorker. As long as you are politically on the side of the oppressed, which often means that as long as you're a Democrat, because the Democratic Party, right, has become the official party of grievance politics and cultural Marxism, as long as you're on the side of the aggrieved, you get a pass. It's one of your privileges. Because by definition, you're not an oppressor. You're on the side of the oppressed. It's liberal privilege. And this is why CNN and the New Yorker are such hypocrites. They apply an outrage over the violation of Me Too norms in accordance with one's political allegiances. If you're on the side of Me Too, you get a pass. If you're with Trump, they will actively attempt to destroy you, like they did with Kavanaugh. This is the politicization of our civic morality, and it's really pathetic to watch. The good news in all this is that, as we see over and over again, the virtue signaling of the left only ultimately serves to bring down their own. Their political correctness is increasingly becoming the occasion of their own undoing, and no one exemplifies that irony more than Jeffrey Toobin himself. Now, before you go, make sure to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel. And you will definitely want to check out my latest video. I just uploaded it on how the Biden campaign is imploding as early voting in key swing states fails miserably. You're not going to want to miss it, so make sure to click on the link, and I will see you over there. God bless.